You guys ever start a video and you already know off the jump that, what's the phrase that I've coined so often on this channel? It's gonna be a fucking doozy. Yeah, that's what it's like thinking about and now discussing Avengers Infinity War. So as you guys see by the title below, this is my spoiler-free discussion, and I assume you're looking at the length of this video and you're just like, bro, what's going on? The biggest movie of the year and you're only spending X amount of minutes talking about it. Well, that's what happens when literally every single thing that you want to geek out about and discuss about Infinity War wasn't in the trailers, which means it is a spoiler by its very nature, and there's a metric crap ton of them. So this video is going to be where I'm just talking about the film itself and all of the nitty-gritty stuff that you have probably already been spoiled by out of context memes. That stuff I'm going to save for the discussion, but I'm going to leave this up to you. Do you guys want to see discussion posted tonight? Or do you want this video to kind of, sit there in the ether, let you guys mule it over and then talk about spoilers on, let's say, Wednesday? Because that's usually what I like to do with these discussions. If it's a big enough movie, I post the spoiler-free discussion, and then I upload the regular spoiler-filled by the time everyone's got a chance to see the movie. But considering that me, myself, and I needed a couple days to collect my thoughts about this, I feel like we need to move up the timetable and scheduling, if you will. So comment down below on that. Now, let us talk about Avengers Infinity War, the movie that is 10 years in the making, more 6 if you consider it's been 6 years since we got the tease of Thanos at the end of the first Avengers movie. And there's so many thoughts and emotions that are flowing through my brain. I'm going to try my best to not dip into spoiler territory. So we might as well just talk about the movie. How was it? As a whole, Avengers Infinity War, no surprise to anyone, was a fucking amazing movie. This was great. It's par for the course when it comes to Marvel, and I know I'm starting to sound like a broken record because ever since Phase 3 started, I always say that Marvel is kind of, upping the ante when it comes to these movies. They're becoming better comic book movies and they're becoming better films in general. And you see that a lot. Captain America Civil War was just as good, if not better than Winter Soldier in some respects, even though I prefer Winter Soldier over all the Marvel movies. You got Doctor Strange in terms of origin movies and how he was handled. Amazing. Then you go into 2017, Guardians of the Galaxy, just as good as the first one. You got Thor Ragnarok, which was kind of polarizing for some people, but in my personal opinion, I think it worked better as a Thor movie than the first two did, which is why I feel that they raised the bar. And then this year, you got Black Panther, which is the new definitive origin movie template for anyone to do. And now we have Infinity War. So as it stands, Marvel keeps raising the bar, even if you don't like how it's becoming formulaic. They are getting better. They've cracked the code. They have the formula here. And we're seeing time in and time out that they're making improvements. This movie in particular, where it does not disappoint in that particular aspect, is how they handle the villains, which we'll get onto later. But the movie itself is, I'm sure you've seen this a lot. It's a lot to digest. It is a lot to unpack because it is 2 hours and 30 minutes of buildup. And when I say 2 hours and 30 minutes of buildup, guys, I'm talking about how there's literally like boom, 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 boom. There's really no scene in this film that is kind of out of place. Normally, when it comes to these genre movies that are 2 hours and 30 minutes plus, it's kind of a lot of huff and puff fluff. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just feel like they're putting this in there for the sake of when it really shouldn't have been there. Like, there's a lot of instances where you can trim down movies. But in Infinity War, I'm kind of scratching my head and thinking, where in the world could they have trimmed this movie to make it fit like a 2 hour, 10-minute runtime? I honestly can't find one. And I think that's what works with Infinity War because Marvel has earned that 2 hour, 30-minute runtime. Like, contrary to popular belief, you guys, when it comes to moviegoers, sometimes the longer the movie is not necessarily the better. Sometimes people want to be in and out of the theater. And I've started to notice that me myself, like just because a movie is longer does not automatically mean it is better. And before Michael Scott says, that's not what she said. Sometimes you want to have a movie that comes out that's the perfect length, that has the right amount of substance and content. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. But in Infinity War, man, you definitely do. There were times in this movie where I was just sitting here and I was just like, damn, man, how much more of this movie do we got? And I look at my watch and it's only 30 minutes have gone by. And it's not a bad, like, wow, I just looked at my watch. It's because so much has already happened in 30 minutes. We've gotten introduced to so many characters and so many scenarios. The movie jumps around from so many different places. It jumps around from these characters' perspectives on this side of the world, these characters' perspectives on that side of the world, these guys over here in the cosmos, and then of course Thanos himself. So for a movie of this caliber, you would think that all this jumping around would get annoying, but trust me, you guys, all that stuff is relevant. And when you have a movie that has such a diverse cast and a huge roster, this is unfortunately what you have to go through to get everyone to work on screen. In order for some people to have lines in this movie, they have to be there just for that particular scene, and that's it. That's it. Like, some people are kind of complaining that their favorite character didn't get as much screen time as they wanted, but when you talk about the grand scheme of things and how this is essentially part 1 to a 5-hour movie, I'll say relax for the time being and let's see what happens down the road. Because this isn't insert character specific movie here, this is Avengers Infinity War. And you have to look at it from the certain scenarios on how these characters, okay, are they going to be relevant to the plot? Okay, let's give them more screen time so they can move things along. It's not necessarily a case of let's have the most popular actor have the most screen time. No, not at all. In some situations, like the B-list Marvel actors have the more screen time than some of the A-listers, which is really crazy when you think about it. Some of the new guys have more screen time. Speaking of new guys and introductions in this movie, we cannot talk about new people without addressing the Mad Titan Grimace in the room. That might be a spoiler. We gotta talk about Thanos himself. This guy who has spent 6 years trying to get out of a goddamn chair. This guy who created the new girlfriend won't have sex with you so I can masturbate. Fine, I'll do it myself meme from Avengers Age of Ultron. This guy's been built up for 6 years now. And when you have a character like this, it is really hard. That's what she said. It is really hard for you to talk about him so much and not give us like a sense of scale and scope. Especially considering when all of the actors and all of the producers are talking so highly of him. We see Thanos' feats not in the first hour, not in the first 30 minutes. We see that shit in the first 3 minutes of the movie. The second this movie opens up, and this is not really a spoiler per se, but this is the best way I can just describe to you guys the intense feelings and the mood that I had watching this. The first 5 minutes of Avengers Infinity War is like a new age version of Star Wars A New Hope. Like, that entire opening scene, that's what you're getting in Avengers Infinity War, except amplified to a crazy degree because you have this Mad Titan Thanos and you have characters that you already know involved in the situation. Thanos is, okay, he's the best villain that we've seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is not hard, considering we only have a handful now, thanks to Phase 3, that actually matter. You know, it used to be we only had Loki to worry about, but then when we got to Phase 3, we had Zemo, we had Killmonger, we had Vulture, and now we have Thanos. Thanos is... The best part about Thanos, and I know people are going to bring this up, like, yeah, the reason why we love Thanos is because he's a villain who had an origin story developed throughout the movie. Yes, this is Thanos' movie. But the best part about Thanos is that he is so not like a villain. And when I mean he's not like a villain, you know, the usual, like, I want to do this, blah, 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 destroy the world, blah, blah, blah. All those motives you would see, that is not Thanos. But more so than anything, Thanos is such a calm, cool, collected individual that honestly, the times when he was on screen where I was scared the most is when I didn't know what he was going to do next. Because this is a guy who knows he's the strongest being in the entire universe. He knows his powers so well, and he knows what he could do with the literal snap of his fingers, and how he's able to control that and address certain characters. He doesn't raise his voice. Not even once throughout the movie. So when you would see him on screen and you would see a situation happen and you would think that this guy's going to go ballistic and crazy, no. When you would see this guy and you think that he's going to just do like this crazy Mad Titan thing, no. He still gets shit done. But when it's done, it's just so... it's so calm and collected. Like, that's the best word that I can use to describe this. And it's honestly scary in a lot of retrospects. Like, holy hell, man, he's not what anyone was expecting. But to be honest, I'm thankful for that, man. You got this dude who's like, what, 8 feet tall, weighing 400 plus pounds with so much fucking gains and power. And the way he's going about his things is just, yeah. And and thankfully, I'm so glad they didn't do the whole stereotypical, because you see this nowadays, and I think Sherlock season 2, what they did with Professor Moriarty, spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen it, how they just turned him into like this really crazy, like, when you have the villain who doesn't look like the brooding guy, the big brolic brooding guy in the background that you would normally see, and you have this really skinny white guy, I'm not trying to paint a race on this at all, but you know what I'm talking about, the really skinny white guy who's going to use his intellect and how he's all crazy or whatever. Like, I'm so tired of that trope now. I was so glad they didn't do that with Thanos, you know, because you could make him the antithesis of the big broody guy and just make him like crazy or whatever, but no, they didn't do that at all. And there's just stuff in this movie that I see that I want to talk about, but I know I can't. I know I can't. So I think this is the best way that we can end this spoiler-free discussion, because all I'm literally going to be doing is just regurgitating the things that I can say, which isn't a lot for this movie. So from me to you for now, my name is NGS signing out, and like always, I catch you guys later. I'm literally about to go record the spoiler-filled discussion.